Kersner hands over Atlantis and the Ocean Club to a creditor. Find out what it means for jobs. The DNA ratchets up the election hype in Golden Gate. The PLP takes its message to Andros. And the F&M took over Clifford Park as we move into single-digit days to the election. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm Clint Watson. Kersner International, the company that built Atlantis Resorts here and Dubai, has handed over ownership of its flagship properties to creditor Brookfield Asset Management and partner Dubai World. Brookfield will forgive about $175 million of junior debt in exchange for ownership of Atlantis Paradise Island and the Bahamas' one and only Ocean Club. Kersner will continue to manage Atlantis for a minimum of 3 years and the one and only Ocean Club for a minimum of 15 years. Some of the conditions the government insisted on before approving the transaction included a continual annual investment in the Atlantis Resort of $50 million, continued marketing of the resort at the current level, and keeping the current level of jobs at the property at 8,000.
There are three key factors to the government's approval of this deal. The first one was that there will be no loss of jobs as a result of the transaction. The second, that annual capital expenditures will continue to be in the same range as they've been over the past 4 or 5 years, which is about $50 million a year. And the third being that we would continue to market and advertise these properties as we've done in the past.
We are dealing with people who are operating a property we feel quite comfortable with, and those factors that we believe should have been imposed on the deal from the government's point of view. And to reiterate them, it's employment levels, capital investment, marketing, which are all very, very important in terms of success of this property. They have been agreed with the owners. So as far as we're concerned, we've touched all the things that are critically important to it, and then now we continue to deal with the operating staff.
International observers have been identified and are ready to take part in the upcoming general elections. Prime Minister Ingram said the OAS has committed 16 representatives from a number of states, while the United States has committed 13. It's just 4 days until registered voters will cast the first ballots during the advanced polling in the country. The Parliamentary Registration Department is making final preparations for those early elections. Mr. Ingram told those at last night's mass rally that new legislation also made it possible for more Bahamians to vote on May 1st.
This would not be possible if not for the F&M. We amended the Parliamentary Elections Act to permit Bahamian students and others temporarily overseas on work assignments to register and to vote at Bahamas consulate offices overseas in Miami, Florida, New York City, Washington, Atlanta, Georgia, Ottawa, Canada, London, England, Bridgetown, Barbados, Kingston, Jamaica, and Port of Spain, Trinidad. The amendment to the Act also provides for persons unable to vote on Election Day due to illness, hospitalization, or previously scheduled travel to vote on the early poll. The early poll in New Providence will take place at the College of Bahamas campus on Tucker Road and Kendall Isaac Gym on Tuesday coming. Around the country, early polls will also be held for the first time ever in a number of family islands, including Abaco, Eleuthera, Andros, Exuma, etc. In all, some 7,865 persons will vote early on Tuesday.
F&M leader Hubert Ingram has slammed the Progressive Liberal Party for running a government laden with promises, all unfulfilled, and are borrowing close to $1 billion with nothing to show. Addressing a mass Free National Movement rally on Clifford Park last night, Mr. Ingram encouraged PLP supporters to think outside party lines and elect a leader they know is best suited to steer the country on the right course over the next 5 years. Shanique Miller was there.
It was a compliment from a proud leader 15 years ago. Last night, it would become Hubert Ingram's biggest endorsement from the man known as the father of the modern Bahamas, Sir Lyndon Pindling.
The Honourable Fawkes, the Honourable Arthur Hanna, the late Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield, the Honourable Paul L. Adderley, His Excellency Sir Orville Turnquest, the Honourable Sir Clement Maynard, the Honourable Terry Christie, and, lest we forget, the most illustrious protege of mine thus far, the Right Honourable Hubert Alexander Ingram.
This rallied the mass crowd on Clifford Park. Then Prime Minister Ingram presented his case on why Sir Lyndon's comments are relevant now more than ever, starting with the $800 million the Christie administration borrowed between 2002 and 2007.
I'm going to list a couple of the things they attempted to do with some of that money. They attempted to build a block of classrooms at C.H. Reeves Senior High School and made such a mess of it that it was abandoned and left incomplete. They progressed the construction of the Magistrates Court on Nassau Street, which plans have been left in place by us, but they messed that up and abandoned that site. They built another facility conceived by us for the Sandlands Rehabilitation Centre, made a mess of that too. They made headway with building the Arthur Rogers High School, land acquisition underway in 2002. They couldn't, over a period of 5 years, finish the land acquisition or clear the dump site nearby. And so that construction stalled. They converted the old city market store on Market Street into accommodation registrar general's office and Department of Lands and Survey. They gutted the building, spent the budgeted money on only they know what, and then abandoned the site. Look out on Market Street Hill.
Ingram then gave example of what his administration did with the monies borrowed in the last 5 years. He invited the crowd to look at the areas surrounding Clifford Park, tangible things they can see, feel, touch, all transformed in the last 5 years. Arawak Quay and the Fish Fry, the Container Port, Saunders Beach, Nassau Harbour, Straw Market, Western Esplanade, and the roads. He then charged the PLP with not only neglecting to invest in public infrastructure during their term, but for neglecting Bahamian students by a decision they made during their term that affected the education of thousands of students.
We know that they disapproved of our education loan program introduced during our second term, the $100 million education loan program. That program provided for the government to pay one half of the interest payable on sums borrowed. During their single term in office, they reneged on that agreement made between the government and over 2,000 Bahamian students pursuing tertiary level education. Their decision caused many families to default in their loan payments. When the PLP came to office, they stopped this arrangement. They cancelled it. And so the family, instead of paying $162 a month, had to then pay the $333 a month. Families which had planned their children's education and made arrangements to ensure timely payment of what they were supposed to pay suddenly found themselves unable to pay. I am pleased to inform you tonight that the F&M government is making good on that promise. We are ensuring that 2,471 students are having the refunds paid for that money. And we are going to refund in cash to the 305 students who've already paid their loans off. The refund for this group of students will be $292,165. In all, we are paying back $2.3 million.
Of the PLP's 2030 platform, Ingram said that 100-day promise by the PLP to get certain things done will be one of the biggest flams in Bahamian history. Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
The Progressive Liberal Party held rallies in Andros and Berry Islands last night, hoping to shore up the support they have enjoyed in that constituency for the last 10 years. Mr. Christie told residents there to expect infrastructural upgrades, and he sought to confirm the PLP's claim to the Pinling legacy, which the F&M has sought to gain mileage on. Keishla Adderley reports.
The PLP says their relatively small populations are no reason for them not to enjoy big city amenities. Party leader Perry Christie told a rally in the Berry Islands last night that he's going to change that, ensuring that residents' revenue contributions are commensurate with their infrastructure.
You really ought to have a resident doctor and facilities commensurate with health facilities commensurate with a resident doctor.
Over in Fresh Creek, Mr. Christie spoke to the issue of land ownership. He told Central and South Androsians that his former administration's decision on land reflected concern for Bahamians.
When my former administration entered into redevelopment deals in areas which were for the most part privately owned by foreigners, we sought to buy back land for Bahamians. Yes. We did it in Albany, yes. We did it in Harbour Island, yes. We did it in South Eleuthera. Yes. We know that one of your key concerns here is that you want to be able to purchase a piece of property and own your own homes.
But there was more he wanted to straighten out with the Big Yard. With its small hotel and fishing lodge potential only partially tapped, here's what he says his administration would do.
To make sure you have access to affordable startup costs, to make sure you have access to affordable credit, to make sure you get any training you may need, and to help smaller properties work together and share marketing costs.
The PLP has continued to draw on the legacy of its first Prime Minister, Sir Lyndon Pinling. Last night, Mr. Christie, responding to Prime Minister Ingram's recollection that Mr. Pinling referred to him as his, quote, most illustrious protege, end quote, said Mr. Ingram has placed more value in that statement than he should have.
Hubert Ingram can try as he likes. Sir Lyndon Pinling retired as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party. Sir Lyndon Pinling retired as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party. Sir Lyndon Pinling retired as a hero of the revolution. Sir Lyndon Pinling retired as one of the greatest Bahamians ever to walk the Bahamas. No Hubert Ingram could lift his name and use it to get PLPs to vote for him. The devil is a liar.
Keishla Adderley, ZNS News.
Mr. Christie issued a statement last night saying he no longer works as a consultant for the Bahamas Petroleum Company. Mr. Christie said well before this current controversy, which he says is motivated by F&M leader, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, his consulting arrangement with Davis and Company, which represented the company, had expired, so he is not currently advising the Bahamas Petroleum Company in any manner. Mr. Christie claims that the Prime Minister issued oil exploration permits with no serious environmental conditions, accusing Mr. Ingram of issuing permits to Liberty Oil, a company owned by a Las Vegas lawyer with no known experience or expertise in the oil business. Mr. Christie said the attacks by the F&M and DNA have nothing to do with policy and everything to do with politics. Well, the Free National Movement says Mr. Christie is backtracking and getting tripped by his own conflicting statement and cannot be trusted to tell the truth. The F&M says the Christie government awarded 5 exploration licenses in 2006, which became effective in April 2007. This was done shortly before the previous elections when the PLP lost. The F&M further noted that the drilling licenses expired yesterday and are due for renewal. The new government coming to power on May 7th will have to make a decision on the licenses and the road ahead when it comes to oil exploration. According to the F&M, this perfect timing seems like quite a coincidence, but now that the public is aware of what the party describes as a corrupt little arrangement, Mr. Christie is ashamed and trying to backtrack. The F&M feels Mr. Christie's embarrassment and fear of political consequences don't change the fact that he and other senior leaders are in bed with a foreign oil company seeking new licenses and benefits from the Bahamian government. The party concluded that Mr. Christie and the group involved with the oil company cannot be trusted to lead the nation. The Democratic National Alliance leader, Brando McCartney, believed that they are building up even more support leading up to the general elections. Our Cyan Thompson tells us that Mr. McCartney says that the DNA will shock the country with the votes it will pull in on May 7th.
During Thursday's rally, DNA leader Brando McCartney told supporters that the F&M and the PLP are using countless advertisements attempting to persuade Bahamians that they are the right parties to lead the country, but believes that there are many Bahamians who are not convinced by the old guard assertion.
I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a change that's coming to this country like never before. There's going to be transfer of ownership. You will become the owners of your country now.
With ongoing industrial issues with the law enforcement officers, Mr. McCartney stated that this essential group, which plays a vital role, have not been given the dignity and respect they deserve for keeping the country safe.
The government did not deny Jose Cataloni the $100 million needed for the cost overruns of New Providence Road Improvement Project, did they? So why are they denying honest and hard-working Bahamians of the armed forces their just reward? You know, it saddens me when the government of the Bahamas treats these persons with no respect. It saddens me when workers have to protest and beg the government for things that they already negotiated for. And the government played a fool at every turn, trying to deny these good men and women of this country what is rightfully theirs.
The DNA plans to build a new prison on a family island while converting Fox Hill Prison to an updated remand center. They also believe that some government agencies should be relocated to the family islands. Cyan Thompson, ZNS News.
A body found as the country's 41st murder. The story when your news leader comes right back.